WBRZ News 2 at 6.
Good evening. First on News 2 at 6 o'clock, an East Baton Rouge teacher fears that teachers and students have not been given the resources they need to succeed.
The teachers say it's leading to fear in the classroom. They sat down with two of your side's Brittany Weiss to talk about their concerns.
Imagine fearing your job, but not wanting to give up because of the impact you're making to the people who care. It's reality to some teachers in East Baton Rouge Parish, and one of them, who doesn't want to be identified, says change has to happen.
It's the violence, the disrespect, and the lack of support from leadership that worries this East Baton Rouge Parish school teacher.
How do you feel when you go to work?
Scared. I feel like I can't protect myself nor my kids.
Each day, psyching themselves up before walking onto campus.
Like walking the Green Mile.
Things like this are not isolated to one school. Law enforcement said as many as 100 students and parents were involved in this massive fight Wednesday at the EBR Readiness Alternative School. It ended with at least 10 arrests.
How many fights are we talking about a day, or how many disturbances a day?
Well, you saw the one at Brookstown. You're looking at probably 3, 4. Some schools have less, some schools have more.
The violence is captured on cell phones and posted to social media on district-issued Chromebooks. And what's really concerning to this teacher, the lack of security.
Security officers are very limited. They're not at schools 5 days, not at most schools 5 days a week. Don't care what they tell you. They're not at most schools 5 days a week. If it is, it's a couple hours.
What's the most jarring incident that you witnessed recently?
A teacher get trampled.
Students trampled her running into the classroom to film a fight. Some teachers say at-home learning during the pandemic likely escalated these situations.
They don't know what's right or wrong, resort to the fighting as opposed to working things out.
The stress is so much. Educators are leaving at a rapid rate. So far this school year, almost 500 teachers and other employees either resigned or have been fired. Here's an example at one school.
There's been approximately 22.
22 teachers have left?
Yes, and several are packing their classrooms up.
Schools are merging classes, teachers teaching during their planning period.
Do you think that things would change if there were new leadership?
Honestly, yes.
Superintendent Cito Narcisse spoke about looking at policies after Wednesday's large fight.
We cannot allow parents to come up and get into fights with kids. This is something that is not going to be tolerated.
This teacher fears those policies won't fix the issues.
First of all, the leadership needs to accept that there's a problem.
This teacher says an effort needs to be made to help, and it hasn't been.
So why do you still do it?
Because I care about the students I teach.
That teacher says they plan to teach in a different school district next year. Brittany Weiss, 2 on your side in Baton Rouge.
Surveillance cameras at this mid-city Walgreens captures a lot. These videos of people urinating behind the dumpster prompted Walgreens to make changes and move it to a more central location. But now there's more. Watch as a person runs from the rear of that Walgreens with bags in hand. They drop items along the way, dump them in this white car, and go back to pick up what was lost. The driver tears away as that person is still closing the passenger door.
Why do I have to have security on Walgreens? Because they don't have any. Cashier's job is to check you out, not to physically tackle you.
Brian McGowan's cameras captured that, and it turned out to be a theft.
And you're sending a signal to the public that you just don't care what goes on out in the parking lot. It's bad for business.
An employee at this Walgreens told me they reviewed the cameras and confirmed items were stolen, but that theft went unreported. I asked about it. Police were never called. Since August 1st, 2022, there have been 12 thefts reported here. Police say that's only a piece of what's going on.
Let's just say that we know there are more.
Police admit thefts are happening, but they aren't being called. It's something that's happening all over the country.
San Francisco in epicenter. So much so that Walgreens says it will soon be closing 5 of its stores here.
Some of those businesses have policies in which they don't really call for police assistance. They let those persons leave that business with that merchandise and write it off as a loss.
It begins with something like this. A thief hurriedly grabbing items off store shelves. This viral video captured last year at a San Francisco Walgreens in plain view of a security guard, the store among those being shut down.
I asked Walgreens corporate about why theft is going unreported in Baton Rouge. They didn't answer, but said the company takes measures like installing anti-theft devices and using security personnel to deter theft. This person appears to have walked out of a rear door. Police have an idea why they aren't being called.
They don't want that type of image on their business.
Take a look at all the items behind plexiglass: detergent, fabric freshener, deodorant. They're even locking up body wash and a whole lot more. Theft is a criminal enterprise, and everyone plays a part, from the seller, the retailer, the criminal, the consumer, and the unaware online shopper.
When they steal those items, they turn around and sell them on the street. They may trade them for drugs. There are a combination of different things that may come from them stealing those items.
It's not just Walgreens. People steal left and right from places, sometimes out of desperation.
They may be reaching out for help. That's their way of reaching out.
Police say hardware stores are a big target.
Those persons feel comfortable with going to those particular businesses and committing crimes, and there's no recourse of action for the things that they're doing.
The Walgreens on Perkins Road and Starring Lane recently closed. Same with the Sherwood Forest Boulevard location. The reason? Walgreens says it's because of the dynamic of the local market. There are other theories, and people will tell you.
They all kind of go together to a sense of misery. Right now,
Dr. Peter Scharf is a health criminologist at the LSU School of Medicine in New Orleans. He says this attitude about unreported loss is a real problem.
Don't worry about it, nobody got killed. But does that create a climate in which violent crime becomes permissible?
Could something like this lead to that? What if the little things slide?
You know, the question is, how does that link to the murders? Both New Orleans and Baton Rouge have had horrendous murder problems. Now the question is, for you, are these two epidemics or are they one?
Police say it's a concern to them, too. They'd rather the theft be reported and the evidence captured.
So they're getting the merchandise, and then your employees don't feel empowered to stop those particular perpetrators from stealing items from their store. So I think it's a bad idea. I think they should be forthcoming with reporting those incidents.
Security might be a big issue. Some stores have taken it upon themselves to hire their own. BRPD officers posted outside stores during the day or night.
You've got to catch it before it becomes critical mass, or we're all leaving.
At this place, they used to have security detail, but lately,
No cop. No cop.
I asked Walgreens why that changed too. No answer. Brittany Weiss, 2 on Your Side in Baton Rouge.
You're watching WBRZ News 2 at 6.
A woman answered a job ad for a nanny, but it turned out to be a scam.
She contacted 2 on Your Side's Brittany Weiss to warn others, and now that she is in a whole lot of debt.
I was like, oh my God, I was like, what in the hell am I going to do?
Right now, she's not sure. London Bello is out nearly $5,000.
Like, there's no way that is possible. I was like, that's not possible.
It happened last month when she answered an ad for a nannying job.
Looking for someone to care for my 4-year-old girl after school, pay is negotiable.
She was interviewed over email. The person signed their name as Taylor and sent a photo. This is supposedly them. The backstory: they were relocating from Brooklyn, New York, and she would be working as a nurse at Baton Rouge General. Then the checks started coming in.
She was like, I need you to buy household supplies, like appliances, cleaning supplies. And she was like, and I'm sending you your first week's pay up front.
She deposited 2 of them. The checks were from Prime Home Health. It's an actual business in Brooklyn, New York.
She says, transfer the remaining balance of $27.10. So I transferred that balance over Zelle.
The money for rent, groceries, and other supplies. Bello was told to Venmo other people. A few days later, Hancock Whitney called.
And they were like, well, these checks are fraudulent. And I was like, what does that mean? They're like, they're fake checks. And I was like, what does that mean?
It means she spent money she didn't have. And for this college student, it's a lot.
Not looking good right now.
She called Prime Home Health.
Those are fraudulent checks. We've been getting calls about that for like 3 weeks now. She's like, there's really nothing we can do.
The bank is holding her feet to the fire.
They were like, you either pay this money back or we're sending you to collections.
She just signed a new lease, and now she's out of income she was relying on.
This just threw a big ol' wrench in paying for everything.
Bello is thankful she found out before she deposited a third check.
The bank balance would have been like $7,000.
But so far, there's no recourse for what she's gotten herself into.
I tried to contact the number, and then I was immediately blocked.
Which is why she's sharing her story. Brittany Weiss, 2 on Your Side in Baton Rouge.